asking questions can be everybody's superpower.
If you're having a hard time figuring out the things that you want to create with your life, just go back to what you liked as a child.
Okay, hot take.
What are some books that you would recommend that people should be reading in their 20s?
I would watch hours of the best interviewers and I would take notes. How did they ask this? How did they transition?
If there's 3 questions that you would recommend a girl like in her 20s or 30s to ask, like,
I can pull up a list. When's the last time you felt rejected? Have you ever said that out loud?
I love Gen Z. I am Gen Z. But there is a very individualistic mindset.
There is this culture of just flaking that is accepted. And I went in there with so much confidence and excitement, and I ended up hating the job.
In dating, not that I do that very often.
Ask yourself, do I want this or do I think I should do this?
Hi, house guests. Welcome back to my home. This week we are off to Los Angeles to go record with one of my favorite people, Danielle Robay, who is literally the woman of my dreams. She's so perfect. She's so cool. She's so kind. She's so smart. She's so interesting. She's so successful. I met her in 2020 during the very dark days of the Zoom recordings for the podcast, back when we were the I Love You So Much podcast way back in the day. And we've just always kept in touch. I love her. She's just so cool. So I'm talking to her about all the things we should be doing in our 20s, the books you should be reading, the people we should be following, her advice, things she would do differently. It's a really good girl catch up episode. I think she is the most fascinating person ever. So I'm also asking her how to be more interesting. I just love her. I think you guys are going to love this episode. And without further ado, let's welcome Danielle onto the show.
Kenzie Elizabeth.
I'm so happy that we're recording together today because you are my favorite person to talk to.
Same.
Really?
You're the best conversationalist.
Thank you. I'm so honored because you literally do that for a living.
Thank you so much. So do you though.
Yeah, but to a different, I was just saying this off air, if you will. And I'm you really have the trifecta because of Hello Sunshine, and then your own show. It's really cool.
That's so nice of you. When I was 7 years old, I told my mom I wanted to be Barbara Walters. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not quite Barbara, but I've tried in my own way to do it. And so I've gotten to live out some of those dreams, which has been cool.
You also have the most soothing voice in the world.
Thank you. Tell the Calm app.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would do that so quick. Even today when you called me and I had you in my headphones.
Yeah.
And I'm it's just so soothing.
Thank you so much.
I wish I had that.
You have a very distinct voice though.
In public, I get recognized for my voice more than anything because I'm so loud. You hear me before you see me, I think.
I don't think you're loud, but it's very you. And so I don't know if you watch The Voice or American Idol. I'm obsessed with these singing shows. I watch every season. And all the judges on both shows say one of the things that they notice about stars is that you hear them on the radio and you know it's them. It's not just a good voice, it's a distinct voice, and you have that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be a pop star. Well, really a country star. If I could sing, I'd be Carrie Underwood.
That's not a prereq anymore. You don't even need to know how to sing.
Wait, that's actually so true.
It's true.
Okay, guys, we're recording a little bit of a pod swap today. Mm-hmm. If you guys were unaware what a pod swap is for the podcast lingo, we also recorded a podcast on yours. So you guys can go listen to that whenever that's out.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Maybe we'll launch at the same time.
This is a good idea.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out. Okay. I have so many things that I want to talk to you about.
Let's do it.
I preface this conversation by saying we go on 15 tangents, the more, the better.
Yeah.
We had the most fabulous lunch in LA last month together.
It lasted way longer than expected.
It was probably a 6-hour lunch and it was incredible and we were dying. A lot of those things I wish that we could repeat.
Me too. We can't though.
We can't.
We'll be canceled.
It won't be welcomed at all. Okay, but I want to talk to you about actually being an interesting person and being a good conversationalist.
Yeah.
We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but when you're thinking of people that you like to be around, people that you find interesting, people that you love to talk to, what are the common traits amongst them?
That's a great question. I love to be in conversation with people who can do 2 things. My favorite conversation partners are active listeners and people who ask interesting questions. And so to me, a great conversation feels like a ping pong match where you give somebody the ball, they hold it for a minute, they hit it back to you and you're going back and forth. And people think that you can't orchestrate a conversation, but you kind of can. You don't have to be strategic, but there's tools that you can use to ping pong.
What are those tools?
The first big thing is to listen to understand, not just to hear. okay? Because everybody thinks they're listening, but like at some point they're probably thinking about like they have to text their mom or like call the electrician, or especially if someone's telling a long story, and you have to, or you want to jump in and interrupt, which I have that instinct all the time because I want to say something and it's hard. You have to hold it back and truly listen, because what people tell me a lot is they're nervous that they don't know what to ask. And you usually know what to ask if you're truly listening, because the follow-up question is in there. So that's a tool. And it seems obvious, but it's harder to do in practice. Another tool, to be insatiably curious. Like when someone shows a real interest in you, you can't help but talk. Even if you don't want to talk to that person. If they're like, okay, tell me everything about this outfit. How did you put it together today? And you're like a little annoyed. And you're like, well, I went to my closet and this is an old shirt. And then they're like, my grandmother used to have a shirt like that. And they start telling you about their grandmother, and all of a sudden you're interested.
Yes.
And if you don't know what to ask, I always say the number one question when you meet somebody is, let's pretend that we just met. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Kenzie.
Kenzie, I love your name. Why did your parents name you Kenzie? Where did that come from?
That's actually really good.
You remember the name.
Uh-huh.
And everybody has such a funny story or an interesting story about their name, even if there's no story at all. Like, I'm named Danielle because my mom said the prettiest girl in her high school was named Danielle, which is like a ridiculous thing. I have no other reason. But that now we have something to talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the quote, like, interesting people are interested.
Yes.
And I think that's so huge. I was touching on this yesterday with Danielle via audio message. And
you were really going off.
I was really going off, but I host like dinner parties and stuff all the time. And I'm also reading this book called The Art of Gathering.
Priya Parker is the best.
Oh my God. Obsessed.
Yes.
The book is so interesting, but it's just talking about basically gathering people together in so many different like capacities of life. And it got me thinking, they said something along the lines at the beginning of the book that when you are not being exclusive with invites, you're actually like not honoring your guest.
Yeah.
If you're too open, which is me, by the way, like there's so many times where I will host a dinner party and it goes from like 6 to 12. And I really should have kept it at the 6 people that I'm like wanting to like invest in those relationships more. And instead I do 12, and it changes the entire thing. And then it was just talking more about being specific in your invites. Like we all know the people who come and they talk about themselves for 2 hours and then they wonder why they don't have like close friendships. And I was just kind of going off about it because I had hosted something and I'm like, it's gotten so bad, especially with people who I've experienced like more in Gen Z.
Yeah.
Especially in like certain cities, not to name names, but they just don't like, they love to talk about themselves. The second they ask you a question about yourself, they just tune out.
Yeah.
And it's not even like not active listening. They're not listening at all. It's very, I don't know. And then they come to me and they ask why they don't have friends. And I'm like, I think that if you just showed like a genuine interest in someone, like I think some issues would be solved.
100%. And I actually don't even blame them, because I think Gen Z grew up in the iPhone era. It literally has the word I in it. Like it's so forward, like it's so self-facing. And so if you don't grow up in a family where the culture of your family is to ask questions or to discuss at the dinner table, I don't know how you would learn this. They don't teach you in school. And so there really is an art to conversation. There's a book by David Brooks called How to Really Know Someone, I think. I'm messing up that title, but David Brooks is amazing when it comes to connection. And he always says it's about seeing people, and the way you see them is to ask. I'll tell you a story. Way before I worked at E, I was working at a digital outlet. That's how I like learned the internet. And I finally got to an entertainment network, which was my dream. And I was the youngest person they hired. It was like a big deal at the time. And I went in there with so much confidence and excitement, and I ended up hating the job. And so it was one of I call it like the oh shit job. Like I think everyone has one where you're like, I thought I was gonna love this. How did I hate this so much? I would cry in the bathroom at lunch. And so I quit. And I was broke and really depressed because my job was a big part of my identity, and also being broke is so anxiety ridden. So I decided to take myself to grad school. And I was like, I am going to put together a list of questions that I would ask people if I got to interview them, if I got to interview Oprah or Michael Jordan or whoever. And I would watch hours of the best interviewers like Larry King and Robin Roberts and Bob Costas, and I would take notes. How did they ask this? How did they transition? How did they move their hands? How did they ask the hard question? And I had like 1,000 questions on this list after. And I looked at the list one day, and I had never gone to therapy. And I looked at the list and I thought, I ask other people questions for a living, and I have never asked myself one question. Not one. And so I was like, I wonder what this is like. I'm going to ask 5 a day. And I didn't even journal it. I would, before I went to bed at night, I would ask myself the 5 questions and answer in my head. After 6 months, I felt like I was on fire in the best way possible. I would go out into the world. I was so practiced. I knew myself better, but also I was so practiced at asking questions that strangers were drawn to me like a magnet. And to this day, like I have that power. You do too.
I was going to say that's a very good way to describe you is that strangers are drawn. Like you have this energy that is drawing people in constantly.
Thank you for saying that. But I actually agree with you. And it's not because I'm anything special. It is because I ask questions. And the coolest part about this superpower is that it's available to everybody. Like for people that wanted to be in the NBA or WNBA, like there's some prereqs. I'm 5'1". That's just not going to happen for me. Like no matter how hard I dream, you know? Yeah. But like asking questions can be everybody's superpower. And I swear to you, like more than a great outfit or makeup or anything, people, it's a magnet. They're so drawn to you.
I think also people feel comforted by people who are interested in them. Like you go throughout life every day and people are so consumed within themselves that the second someone takes interest in you, it's very like heartwarming.
Well, where did you learn to do it?
I'm just naturally a very curious person. Like I just had a lot of questions. I think it maybe comes from just being very driven, that I was just interested in people. I'm also interested in stories. Like it's less about questions that'll always get me somewhere. Like it's not so direct. Like I think about this is a weird kind of parallel, but I prefer reading fiction books over nonfiction because weirdly, I think I learn more from fiction books.
Whoa.
Relationally.
That's cool.
So I actually get a lot from that. And I feel similar to questions and just people that I'm interested in. It's not always people who you would assume. Like obviously I love Martha Stewart, but like my favorite follows on the internet are people who like live in the North Pole. Like people that I have nothing in common with them,
wow.
But I think that they're so fascinating to me. I guess it just comes from, I don't know, I've just always been like naturally curious. But what questions were you asking yourself at night?
They weren't even like self-reflective questions necessarily. Like I can pull up a list.
Yes, please do.
Is that boring?
Like give us some questions that we should be, no, this is great. People will love this.
Okay. Let me pull up a list. So I have a list of 1,000. I'll go through some of my favorites and I'll ask you them. Is that okay?
Yeah. This is such a host thing to do. When I go on people's podcasts, I'm like, wait, I have a couple questions. Would you mind?
We're bad on a podcast together. We're like fighting who's hosting. When have you felt the closest to magic in your life?
Okay. Honestly, right now, I would say it's like building the brand, like building Friend of Mine. Like there's something about it. And it wouldn't always be so career-wise, but just when I think about like when I come alive or I feel the most like aligned, it's when I'm so excited about something that's coming. Like that's right now, I definitely have a better answer overall, but just that's the first one that comes to mind.
I love that. And I think that says something about you too, because like you are a builder. And so I connect those two for you. That's where the magic lies in you building community, you building all of that. Okay, what compliment do you hear the most? Which compliment means the most to you and which one makes you the most uncomfortable?
The thing that I'm fearful of, the compliment that I do get a ton that I don't love, would be like something work related. Like when I was younger, especially, I had this realization that I had like built a career and I was so focused on like my work, but I hadn't really built a life. And so I was so fearful when people around me, like when they would describe me, it was always driven or a hard worker. And it's like, well, I want to be a good friend. I want to be more of a person. Yeah. So that's something I don't like. Actually, now the compliment that I really do get the most is that I make friends very easily. But I do. Like
well,
I actually,
friend of mine literally has the word friend in it.
Exactly. And I am really good at like building community. Like within a couple of days of like living in Nashville, I had 11 girls over needlepointing, and now they do needlepoint clubs without me, and they play mahjong as well, and I taught them. So like I love building community, and I love people. So that is more meaningful. The one that I don't love is just like only work related.
Got it. What's the most challenging part of what you do for a living?
I think that it all relies on me. I would like sometimes for there to be like someone who either I have to answer to. I don't want to answer to them. I want people who work for me to have to answer to someone else and not me. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. You're close to that, just so you know.
Hopefully.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a tough one?
Yes.
When's the last time you felt rejected?
This isn't necessarily a moment, but I would say the last time I felt rejected has just been, we've had a rough couple months for like sales-wise with a friend of mine in 2025, which I mean, a lot of people are having rough couple months. I'm not like sitting here to like complain and whine, but I would say that like either product launches that I thought were going to do better or just sales being lower, I would say it's been kind of like a common stream of feeling rejected versus just like one big moment.
When you put a product or a podcast or anything out into the world and it doesn't meet your expectations, I always take it personally. It's like a personal pain. So I understand that.
Yeah.
What gift do you most often give or re-gift?
I would say a gift that I most often would be flowers. Like I do love sending flowers because I love receiving flowers. I don't re-gift things people send me, but honestly, like people don't really get me gifts. Like I get other people gifts. Like
I'm gonna send you a gift.
Yeah, like I don't have anything that I would re-gift really.
Okay. Not even like a hostess gift. Like you don't re-gift a candle because sometimes I've re-gifted like an olive oil or a candle.
Okay, I don't, only because I have so much PR that if I'm gifting someone like an olive oil or something, like I have something to pull.
Yep.
Maybe wine. I
Yeah.
guess wine bottles would be it.
Yeah, the traveling champagne.
Yeah.
Do plants thrive or die in your care?
Right, I have a garden. Of course, I was on Martha Stewart TV, garden episode.
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions of all time. I think this really gets to the heart of somebody. It really allows them to open up in a safe way. What's something you wish people could see about you that they don't see at first glance?
I feel like there's a lot.
Really?
And I would normally have a more direct answer just because I think there's a lot of things about me that come off a certain way. But when you get to know me, like I think that I would come across very like type A and uptight.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not. Like, or I would come across a way more high maintenance, but I'm actually shockingly not. Like, yeah, I love to get my hair done. I love these things. But like I grew up with 8 siblings. Like you don't get to be high. Like that's not really how that works out.
Right.
Like if, for example, if like we're on a girls trip or something, I'm always the one that takes the couch. I genuinely don't care. So I think that that would be something that I feel like with like my house and I love decor and I love hosting and I love all this, like it definitely comes across a certain way. But if you know me personally, I'm way more easygoing than you would think, which isn't a good or a bad thing necessarily. It just is like a fact.
Okay, hot take. Hair and makeup and clothing, I think, does not necessarily make someone high maintenance.
Oh, I agree, but I could list off a couple other things in my life that you would think would be high maintenance. Like just like
what?
my house. Like
The dogs are high maintenance.
yeah, the dogs
The
are high
dogs.
maintenance. But I have a hosting closet. I have all
Okay.
these hobbies where you're old. Like they're like grandma hobbies. So I just feel like I would come across a certain way, but I'm
Yeah.
actually not that way.
Do you feel like, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation, but do you feel like you've been here before?
So my dad's really into this. Like I don't really feel that way, but I do. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't feel that way. I'm not like against it, but I
You've
don't
never
feel like
had
I've been here
dreams or
before.
anything because you're an old soul.
No, I'm definitely an old soul, but I just love old people and I spend a lot of time with old people. So I think they've like rubbed off on me.
I really love that about you because I think our generation doesn't always appreciate elderly people, and there's
Oh my
really,
God, I love an old person.
They're sacred, yeah.
No, if I could do anything, I'm like, I want like a podcast mini series where I go to like a retirement home and I just ask them all these questions, harder than you'd think. But I really would love to do that. You know?
You know what I've found is they're really honest, which I love.
Very honest. Oh my God, my grandma, very honest.
Very honest.
Yeah.
Very. Okay, what do you complain about more than anything else?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I complain about not having enough time.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not having enough time. You know what it is? It's people not sticking to their word. I'm really big on if I say something. I think too, like another thing I wanted to talk to you about is like self-confidence versus self-worth, because I've heard you speak on it and I very much so relate. But before that, like when it comes to confidence is trust.
Yeah.
So for me, like my favorite quote ever that literally I'd say in every single episode, it's Ed Milet, it's confidence is built by making promises to yourself and keeping them because you're just building trust within yourself. So it's actually like that, I think is what I've built my life on, is that quote.
Yes.
And when someone is telling me, like I just hate someone who doesn't follow through on what they have to say, because at the end of the day, all you have is your word. So that would be like my absolute like biggest pet peeve.
Is that from your mom and dad?
It's from my dad. My dad is basically at my let, just like minus the like billions of dollars. But he is very similar. He's very into like leadership and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that he raised me in that way. We just didn't have the quote at that point. But
Yeah.
I'm very big. Like, does that bother you when people don't? Because I feel like it bothers me a lot more than it bothers the next person when people don't follow through.
I teeter on cutting people off when they don't follow through or keep their word. And I've had to learn that because it bothers me so deeply because I'm the same. And it's actually from my dad as well. Like he always said, all you have is your word. And I will hurt my own life before it will be a detriment to my own life before I don't follow through for something I said to somebody else. But I've learned that sometimes there's stuff going on in people's lives that we don't even know. And so I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's hard.
I think I actually was giving the benefit of the doubt a little too much
Yeah.
in my life too. But I agree. I would much rather lean on the side of grace. For me, what I've chosen to do is I have to decide, like, is this a friendship that I'm willing to let go of? Or am I wanting to keep it? And if I am, I have to lower my expectations of that person.
Yeah.
So I can't complain about it again. Because if I've chosen to keep them, I have to know what I can expect from them. So I just keep it lower. Like I have a lot of friendships like that where my expectation, and it's not a bad thing. Like I actually think it's a healthy way to view friendship. I think sometimes we have like way too high of expectations on the wrong people. I've done that a billion times. So I've just had to lower expectations. But with that being said, like if you are a good friend of mine and you cancel on a dinner party that I've been working on all week, 30 minutes before, like you're not getting another invite. Like I will not invite you to another thing, but that's because I know that about you now and I won't put us in a situation where I'm frustrated again.
Can I ask you a question about that specifically? Because I find that we have like you know how like in dating there's a ghosting issue?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know a lot about dating or ghosting, to be honest, but I know it's an issue in our culture. And I've experienced it in hosting where even people I love, respect, are good friends, cancel 30 minutes before. And if you've hosted anything, you know.
So rude.
But it takes so much.
Oh my God. Yes.
Love, time, money, energy, effort, all of the things. And there is this culture of like just flaking that is accepted. And I really do want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but I have an elephant memory. Like I do not forget things.
Me too. I've actually been thinking about this exact topic a lot in regards to like building a village and how everyone wants a village, but no one wants to be a villager. And I think that
What does that mean?
Everyone wants to have, when I think about what a good village is, I honestly think about my stepsister and her two best friends. They've been best friends since like middle school, high school. They all had kids together. They're in their mid-30s. They do everything for each other. If someone's in the hospital, they're all there. They do everything together.
Wow.
But they are all equally doing everything for each other, right? And it's a village mindset versus people who, there's like a TikTok that's gone viral recently about this woman who's like, we don't go to birthday parties for my kids because like that's our time. And it's like, that's fine, but you're making a choice to not have a village. Like that's just like a good example of like the opposite. So for me as someone who like wants a village and wants to also be a villager, I think, again, all you have is your word. But when it comes to stuff like that, I just noticed in Gen Z, I love Gen Z. I am Gen Z. Like, it's amazing. I love it so much. But there is a very, like, individualistic mindset, especially in America, to where it's like we're all out for ourselves. Like, that's our only focus.
Yeah.
And you can't expect to have all these people show up for you and have these like really deep relationships when you're not showing up for them. And if you're having like a bad day or you're just in a bad mood and you're tired and you don't feel like going, like a villager would still show up. Like you push through and you show up for other people.
Yeah.
And like those are the kinds of people that I want in my life. Like obviously you cancel, like everyone can, like, I'm not saying like you can never cancel. You have to show up at every single thing. There's just like a pattern over a long period of time. And I think I think it really goes to like a bigger conversation around being a villager versus like just being a flake. Because like you're not going to have that village when you're a flake.
Yes, I totally agree. So I'll give you an example. I threw a dinner and I invited 30 people because it was a sit down dinner at a restaurant. So it's expensive. It's like a wedding, right? Like per plate costs
Very
a certain
expensive.
amount. And I had a really good friend cancel like an hour before saying she was sick. Whether that's true or not, I didn't care because I know who she is. She's not a flake. And so whatever the real reason was that she could not make it, I respected it. The other people, there was like 5 or 6 others who did not email, did not text, did not show. And that's when I realized like the chutzpah. Like I would just never do that to somebody.
No, it is crazy.
It's wild to me, but I don't know. I teeter in between trying to give the benefit of the doubt and give grace, but I don't know.
I think it also goes back to like, their character. Like there's certain people where it's like, of course, like no worries. And then when it becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
But that's just, again, like when you're building your village, like those are not the people that are going to be in it. So
but also
it helps to not take it so personally, honestly. Because like you just have to understand.
Yes.
Do you know Susie Welch?
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I think of like having the conversation that I had with her about values, that has shifted how I think about, for people listening, listen to the Susie Welch episode in early January, but she talks about how everyone has different values, and that has been so transformative in the way that I think about myself and other people and my relationships with them.
Yeah.
And just understanding that like that maybe isn't really a value of theirs. That's not really something that they care about. It's less personal. It's more of like a them thing. And then understanding like how you can either keep or leave that person out of your life.
I really like that. Yeah, I agree. Because also we live in such a busy, sometimes chaotic environment or world that you really can't be a villager for everybody. You have to decide who your village is and show up for those people. So
that's another thing that I've had to learn like in my 20s. That's been huge. Is like you can't be everything for everyone. Yeah. So I've had to really like dial it back in, which has been helpful.
I had a therapist say to me, because I kept saying yes to everybody and yes to things. And she said, every time you say yes to something that you don't want to do, you're saying no to yourself. And why are you willing to say no to you and yes to them? Yeah. That kind of reframed it.
No, that's actually huge. I want to kind of circle back a little bit to your questions.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really good exercise in like getting to know yourself and also building confidence. If there's 3 questions that you would recommend a girl like in her 20s or 30s to ask, like, what would you think, or even just to start with? Like, if they're going to start doing this exercise, what would you say?
That is a fabulous question. And I really want to give a good answer. So let me think about it. The first thing that came to my mind is in every decision you make, ask yourself, do I want this or do I think I should do this? I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my 20s doing things that I thought I should do, whether it was like societally or my mom or my family values, and not checking in if it was really feeding me and my soul. And that's part of growing up, is getting to learn what does feed your soul. But I think that's a good question to ask when you make decisions. One of the things you mentioned earlier that I think is something to think about is self-confidence versus self-worth. And are you making decisions from your self-worth? I'll give you a quick anecdote. I've always had great self-confidence. Grew up as a confident kid, like to the point that if I showed you a photo of me as a kid, like I was not the prettiest girl in my grade, okay? By any means, by any stretch of the imagination. I would like walk in 6th grade and be like, I am the most beautiful person here. Like I felt it in my core. And so I moved to LA. I did not know how to do my makeup or my hair. I did not know how to dress. I like truly was so out of place here. And I would walk into rooms and be like, I'm Bar Raffaele.
No, like honestly feel that.
You know, like I have no confidence issues. So I never really considered that as an issue for me. And as I was dating men in my 20s and like in 31 and 32, something wasn't aligning. And a good friend of mine said to me, Danielle, just because you're confident doesn't mean that you have self-worth. And I said, what are you talking about? I am so confident. And he goes, self-confidence is what you think of yourself, and self-worth is what you think you deserve. And I realized that in money and negotiations, in relationships, I kind of had a self-worth issue. And so I was working on that too. I went on a tangent, but I think in terms of those 3 questions, I need to get back to you because I have to think about it to give you a proper answer.
Conversation is so massive.
Yeah.
Self-confidence is also something that you can control and grow, and self-worth is just something you innately have. So you can't really, like, you can obviously do a ton of work around like building your self-worth, but the point of self-worth is that it's just innately within you. Like, you are worthy because you are here. Like, it's not really something that, with self-confidence, it's like, I can build it. I can do all these.
Yes.
I can build trust with myself. I can take control, and you can almost like work your way into self-confidence.
Yes.
And with self-worth, you actually kind of have to work your way out of it, because it's just something you innately have. It's not something that you can build off of and work harder and kind of do this like hamster wheel. You have to like actually kind of take your foot off the gas. Have you read Jamie Kerlima's most recent book? It's literally on this. You should read it. You would love it. And it's called Worthy. And it's about how it's completely different. Like, self-confidence and self-worth are not the same thing. And a lot of people have one but don't have the other. And I have so much confidence, but I don't. Worth is something I have to like work through a ton, because my brain is like, well, I have confidence because I've worked for it. Like, I've worked to deserve this.
You had to earn it.
I had to earn it.
I have that issue too.
But with worth, like, you can't earn it.
No.
And so I'm like, well, then how do I have it? Because I didn't earn it. Like, that is hard for me.
The thing that's helped me, I'm curious if this will resonate with you, is actually achieving or getting some of the things I've wanted. Because you get there, and I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I was like, oh, this didn't feel the way I thought it would. Getting this job, getting this thing actually didn't give me the feeling that I thought it would. And that's when you realize, oh, it's just all in me. It's about like taking a walk and calling a friend or a family member. It's like, it's the love. It's the stuff that is all woo-woo, you know?
Yeah, it is the woo-woo stuff.
It's the woo-woo.
You're not going to find like real truth, like lasting fulfillment.
Yeah.
So I think that has been something that I've like really struggled with in my entire life. Like, I look back, I'm like in my 20s, but even before that, it's just, I think it's like an oldest daughter, first kid tendency too. Like, it's just.
Where does it show up in your life? Like, when do you notice it?
I have like limiting beliefs somewhere deep inside me, and I'm always trying to figure out what they are, because I feel like I'm always stuck at like a certain, and I don't think that maybe other people around me would feel this way, but like, I'm stuck at a certain like subscriber count or like view count or podcast count. And I'm like, I'm convinced that it's like some sort of limiting belief that I have to where it's like, I can do so much, but I can't go to that level. There's something in me. And like, I really haven't been able to figure it out, like how to fix that.
Yeah.
But I find it more in work, because it's like, I do believe in myself and I have a ton of confidence that I can do X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to like a certain level, I think that's where I tap out.
Can I offer
Please.
A thought? And it's something that I've thought a lot about in my own life, so it's coming from inside of me. But I think we place, especially in our jobs, a lot of importance on influence, on like the numbers, on the reach, on the sales. And those are all important things because you have to make money. But I've been thinking about influence versus impact. And I actually met a really big influencer, millions and millions of followers, subscribers, and I have like 250,000 followers, nothing compared to her, right? And we were sitting at a table having lunch, and I said, well, tell me about like what's going on for you, what you're wanting. And she goes, well, I want to do what you do. And I was like, huh? You know I make a lot less more money than you, right? Like I don't know. Are you sure? And what she was talking about was she wanted the respect of being a host or an interviewer, something that I had a training that I had from working in news. And I wanted what she had. I wanted like real influence and numbers so that I could grow the pod. And I was like, whoa, what if we're all looking at the wrong stuff and it's really about impact? Like, think about all the women that you have connected in throughout all your work. Who knows what businesses, friendships, laughs, conversations have come because you've made those connections. It's like it's a web. Mm-hmm. That's not even impact that you can measure. And I know that doesn't pay your bills, but like it's pretty remarkable to think about.
Thank you. I really do. I do think more in the way of like the numbers are not the biggest thing, because honestly, like not because I am so evolved and like so ahead of my years, it's because I would actually lose my mind that if I focus on that 24/7, because like I don't have that, you know? And I agree, it's just like there are times where like that stuff does come into practice. It feels like it feels like it's something that holds me back. Like I don't want anything in my life to like hold me back more so. But yeah, I do think there's something.
If you had to guess, what do you think it is in your gut?
Honestly, I think it's that I have a belief that like bad things happen to me because I've had horrible things happen to me in my life, like time and time again, like even just the amount of grief and death I've had in my life. So it's like this limiting belief of like, and then I see people
Like, can it be that good?
Yeah, because I see people that I know who are very successful entrepreneurs and influencers who I know personally who actually haven't gone through anything like bad, like actually bad. Like there's certain things where it's like, yeah, okay, but like it gets worse, you know? And so I think it comes from that. Like there's just, and of course in the tragedy, there's so many beautiful things and I have a great life. Like there's so many other amazing things, but I think there's this like really deep belief that like bad things happen, which because I've seen it. So like, I don't know how I like get out of that, you know? Like, I mean, I'm therapy, but like, it's just, maybe I'm like, I don't know, like at some point good things have to happen, you know? So I don't know.
Have you ever said that out loud?
Yeah, I say it in therapy a lot. And I have talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but I don't know. I think it's just something that's going to take time too.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Okay, like literally enough about me because this podcast is about you. You are someone that I just like look up to so much. And even just like as like a big sister, I'm like, I value your advice so much.
So sweet.
Especially just in the like recent years of your life. Like we were at lunch and you were giving me all this like advice that was actually
Was
like,
I?
Yeah, well, I was asking for it. One thing about me, I'm always asking for advice. You
Oh
don't
my
have to ask-
God. I was like, I hate giving unprompted advice. I hope I didn't do that.
No, and by the way, I probably asked for it.
Okay.
Like, I was like, you were talking about a situation and I'm like, do you regret that? Like, do you think I should start doing that?
Okay.
And you were like, yes, I wish I would have done it. So like things like that.
Oh, we were talking
Helpful.
about dating.
Yeah.
Thanks for not blowing up my spot. Yeah.
Yes. But I just want to know, like, if someone's listening and they don't have your phone number,
Yeah.
like, what are some books that you would recommend that people should be reading in their 20s?
I love this. Okay. First, The Defining Decade.
Love that book. Identity Capital changed my life.
Same.
Yeah.
Because everybody tells you like in your 20s, like go have fun. It doesn't matter. And it's like, no, that is not a wasted decade. And that is when you plant the seeds and the roots so that you can become a tall, strong tree in this forest. And don't feel like you've lost out if you haven't done that. But I think that book is really amazing. Oprah's, what is it called? Wisdom on Sundays, Sunday Wisdom, something like that. It's amazing. You open it up. Each chapter is titled by a word. So it's like resilience, purpose. And so you don't even have to read the whole book at once. It's almost like an anthology. But whatever you're feeling that day or what you're craving, you open up to that chapter. And it's
Amazing.
Insight and wisdom that you will love. Many Lives, Many Masters. I know you've been through a lot of grief. It's a quick read and it really changed my perspective on death, which I think whether you've experienced grief or not, or death in your 20s, like it eventually you will, it's like the inevitable thing.
Great equalizer.
Yeah. And so to have that is pretty great. I love whatever you're interested in. I think read an amazing memoir or biography. And I could tell you what I love, but I think you have to go towards somebody you're interested in. If you're an entrepreneur, read the Rockefeller book. If you are into science, read about Marie Curie, like whatever it is, because whatever you're wanting to do, somebody has done before. Like we are not the first people to do anything. To learn from them and try and study what they've done and take the steps and apply it to your own life in a modern way is so useful. Like be a student. The Go-Giver.
I love that book.
By Bob Berg.
They've got so many of those.
Yes.
Different
I haven't
editions.
read the other ones, but the Go-Giver is the original. And when I moved to LA, I was so ambitious and hungry. And I would walk into every meeting thinking about what I could get out of it, what I wanted. I needed a connection. I wanted a job. When you're young, people can feel that from you and they sort of forgive it because they were young once too. But at some point, you have to be able to walk into a room, a dinner, a meeting, and be the giver. And I promise you, you'll get so much farther by going first and being the giver. And I think that's such a short read that allows you to it really underscores that idea.
I love what you said about going first too.
Yeah.
This is, I think, a trait that we both share. So, and this is just easy to see in friendships. I hear all the time in my DMs from girls, like, how are you making friends? How should I make friends in a new city? I'm feeling so lonely. I'm feeling so isolated. And I think so much of building anything, including a friendship, is just going first.
Yeah.
Building a career, going first. Like, and also it gives you, as someone who loves control, it does give you at least a false sense of control over the situation. But I think that going first, specifically in your 20s, is huge.
I have sent so many cold emails, cold DMs, things that go unanswered that, like, if you looked at my DMs, you'd be like, that's embarrassing. But it's not, because 1 or 2 out of the 100 DMs I've sent have worked, and I've gotten the interview, I've gotten the job, I've made a friend because I'm willing to put myself on the line, and it actually does not take very much. Sometimes it's just like hey, I was thinking about you. Would you be interested or willing to X, Y? You know, like it can be really simple.
Very simple, but it goes such a long way.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It builds a life too. Like, going back to the defining decade, there's this concept of identity capital that I personally really love. And this is what I've connected with in the book so much. And it talks about how we're not really here to find ourselves. Like, we're really here to create ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you're having a hard time figuring out the things that you want to create with your life, like, just go back to what you liked as a child. I think, like, before, like, the world kind of jaded us all.
Totally.
Like, we really did have an idea. Like, I think even just kind of going back to the questions that you were asking, we know ourselves well when we're young. I think as we get older and the world's telling you who to be, you have all these different relationships, you have all these different issues and problems. Like, your own, like, inner voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And so that's why I think, like, asking questions and, like, building that relationship with yourself is so important, because over time, like, your own voice will get louder. But when it comes to identity capital, it's really a game changer, because it's the idea that, like, you are not something that you find, like, you're something that you create. And over time, like, you are just a combination of all these different interests and hobbies and facts and experiences that you've had in life. So you should be, like, going after those things. But identity capital is, like, genuinely, I think that, like, if I were to go back to, like, my 22-year-old self, which is probably when I read that book, honestly, that is the only thing that I would say. I would say, like, this is really all you need, because that is how you figure everything else out.
Dave Chappelle said something recently that I thought underscored this idea so well. He was like, when you're a comedian and you're new, you look at what all the other comedians are doing and you try out a joke the way Kevin Hart did a joke, or you try out a joke the way Sarah Silverman made a joke, or Chelsea Handler, and you kind of figure out, that doesn't work for me, or this part worked for me. And you try on all these sort of masks. And eventually you get into your 30s or 40s and you've created, like, your own mask, because you throw stuff away that doesn't work. You keep what does. And you're creating who you become. And I do think there's a point in which you do feel like you're not wearing a mask anymore. Because, like, in your 20s, you're really trying on a lot of stuff.
Oh my God. The amount of things that I've tried on in my 20s, the amount of phases that I've had.
Really?
Oh my God.
Name them.
Well, there was Bible college. That was one. That was really a phase. There's just, I mean.
You were a blonde. You're now.
I know. I was a
phase.
blonde. I mean, I think at the end of the day, at the core, I'm the same. But, like, post-grad, I was, like, partying all the time. Now I'm a grandma. Like, there's just one thing about me is I'm going to go through a phase.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm really an all or nothing sort of girl.
Yeah.
But I do think
I love
think
that
that's
about you.
better than not trying things out, because how are you supposed to, like, get to know yourself, you know?
Yeah, I
agree. I think even going back to what we were saying about how to be an interesting person, a good conversationalist, like, it really, at the end of the day, is almost just like you create yourself. Like, you create who you want to be. And there's obviously tools and tactics on how to have a better conversation with people and how to actually be interested and show interest and ask them questions and listen. But, like, at the end of the day, if you don't do this stuff, like, you don't really have a point of view, because you're not really a fully formed person. We're never really a fully formed person, but, like, we're a work in progress, if you will, you know?
Well, to your point, I want to share something, because I feel as if it can be intimidating to ask a question. And one of the things I learned from Celeste Headley, who's an expert conversationalist, she said that you should practice with baristas or waiters, because they are paid to engage and interact with you. So you literally will never feel bad, because they have to respond.
And they're getting paid for it.
Yeah. So, like, when you get your morning coffee, just start asking a question or two and trying it out. Like, try on the mask, you know? And the other thing I'll share is why I think it feels really, really vulnerable to ask a question sometimes. Are you familiar with the Gottmans?
Mm-mm.
They're 2 therapists, and they're married. They talk about bids for connection all the time. And the idea is, say you're on the couch and one person heads to the window and says, Kenzie, oh my God, look at this bird. And you're reading and you're like, I don't want to look at the bird. And so you keep reading. Say that was me. You didn't accept my bid. I was trying to connect with you. What you need to do is look out the window, even if you don't want to, and say, wow, that's really beautiful. Just accept the bid. It's very small. And so I think a question is a bid for connection. It feels like an invitation. It's an invitation to get to know you better. And what feels vulnerable is like someone can say no to the invitation. They can make you feel dumb or embarrassed. And that's very real. And so like, I think if you're listening to this feeling like, oh, I don't want to ask a question or that's not for me, just know that it feels vulnerable for everybody and you have to just get over that hump. It won't always feel that way.
What's so interesting too is that we take things so personally.
Yeah.
And that just feels like rejection, right? But if we just had an understanding that that has nothing to do with you, like someone not answering your question, someone not answering your DM, like it really has so much less to do with you and more to do with them.
Yes.
Even if you're thinking about like dating and relationships, genuinely for a relationship to work, it's like basically a miracle. Like there has to be two people who really like each other, who really enjoy being together, who are in the right place at the right time,
Have the same values,
who are in the right place physically, typically as well,
right,
to have even met, even if it's long distance. Like there's so many outside factors that come to making a relationship work. So in dating, not that I do that very often, but like something that's helped me is like not taking things so personally because there's so many outside factors.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that you have no control over that have to kind of be in place in order for it to work.
Totally.
Even when they say like, if they want to, they'll make it work. Like there's so many other things, right? So I think that if we kind of carried more of that mindset into like just asking questions and being curious and like really trying to put ourselves out there, I think it'd be very helpful because I think it alleviates the pressure of we're almost like making it all about ourselves. Like that's a lot of rejection. Like I find that if I'm feeling rejected about an opportunity or something that I wanted or something didn't turn out the way I wanted, like we have this tendency to like, again, somehow like pull it back and make it all about ourselves. And like, there's so many other outside factors. Like it's just wasted energy.
It's almost never about you.
Yeah.
I remember I was dating this guy who I liked so much. I was like 26 or 27. I really liked him. And I don't really like a lot of people, okay?
That's another shared trait that we have, unfortunately.
You know how some people like have crushes all the time?
Oh my God. No, I would give anything to have a crush. It's so rare.
It's so rare. So I liked him so much. And he was being so cagey with me after a few weeks. Like he wouldn't call back all the time or he'd be like busy. I was like, okay, I can read the room. Like I'm out. And I really like it stayed with me for years because I liked him a lot. And I was like, what? Like, I can't believe he didn't, like we had such a vibe. I can't believe he didn't like me back. Years later, I found out his dad was really sick. He had just been through a breakup and he was like finding himself. And I got to talk to him and he was like, oh my God, I liked you so much. Like it was so not about you. I was in such a hard place in my life. Were we meant to be? No. But it really had nothing to do with me. And I personalized it so badly. And I always think about, his name was Adam. I think about Adam because like, do not personalize it.
And that's just such a great way to look at life. Like, it's not like, oh, if a guy rejects you or something, like his dad is died. It's not necessarily that, but it's like, we miss out on so many opportunities because we're so scarred from either past rejections or the idea of rejection that we miss out on like relationships, opportunities, moves, people that you can meet. Like there's so many things, but if we just like stop personalizing it and just keep going. And that's how I feel like you have like the stamina to keep going.
When I worked at Entertainment Tonight, I would like after work listen. They had an archive of like 40 years of interviews and I would listen and watch old interviews. And J-Lo did an interview one time and she said the difference between me and anybody else is that I didn't give up. Like I just, not that we're all quoting J-Lo all the time, but like I've never forgotten that because it really is just about if you want something, you just have to keep going after it.
This is the last thing I will say because you do have to get going. I'm like checking your schedule. But I was talking to a friend this morning and I was saying like there's so many people that I idolized growing up that I wanted to be like career-wise.
Yeah.
That like are so successful, are so smart, are so talented, have so much potential, have so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But they just kind of like took themselves out of the game. And like now they call me.
Wow.
And I'm like, why are you calling me? Like, you're so much further ahead. But it's like, it's just crazy because had they stayed the course and just stuck with it and like gone through a couple flop eras, gone through a couple things that you don't feel good about, like if they had just stayed the course, it would be like massive.
Wow.
But they didn't do that. And they decided they couldn't take the rejection. They couldn't handle, whatever it might be. Maybe they're going through something in their personal life. But I was saying, like, if they would have just kept going, where would they, like, it would be insane where they're at now, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And like, that really is the only difference. But they're still way bigger than me. But like, they should not be calling me for advice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I should be going to them. Those are the people that I idolized, but they took themselves out of the race.
Pretty cool though that they're calling you. I think it proves my point that you've been here before.
Thank you. I know maybe if maybe I was like an 80-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you were Martha.
I know, that would be something.
Yeah.
I could have been like Martha's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
love
that. Yeah.
Okay, well, absolutely loved having you on. I wanted this to just be like a more girl chit-chatty episode.
Thanks.
And I think we killed it.
I hope so. I mean, everyone let us know. I do have one quick question for you before we leave, because I love the name of your company and you don't have to tell me the origin story of it, but why is being a good friend important to you?
I had a very like tumultuous childhood and I love my family. I'm such a family girl. I'm very close to them. Like I spend all my time with my family now, but as a kid, my home was very tumultuous and I didn't really feel like I had stability there, but I found stability in friendships. So I found like a chosen family outside of it, most of which I'm still friends with all those people. Like I've had so many of the same friends for like 20 years from that time of my life, but I think that was kind of where I found stability outside of family. And now I'm so close with my family and it's all worked out, but like I've kept that going, I think.
Cool.
It's
something I really value about you. You're a really good friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can they find you?
Danielle Robay on Instagram. Question Everything is my podcast and my card game.
Love.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Everything.
Okay.
Amazing.
Thanks for this.
Thank you.
You're a friend of mine.